Let's go. What's up, everybody? It's Crypto Okie. We're back. We're back. All right. Today we're talking about one coin only, I think, and that is Litecoin. Eventually, I'm going to be right about Litecoin, and I think that day is coming. I don't know when, but one day. I don't know when. We'll just start with the USD pair. Here's what we're looking at. Obviously, clear downtrend. I am seeing a little bit of a possible descending wedge here. So we'll see how this kind of plays out. We have a few touches on the top, on the bottom. So, we could put in like a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders here maybe, and break this line, maybe this downtrend at about, $47, maybe towards the end of the month, if we're lucky, or sooner. It's obviously a downtrend. This chart looks like crap, but we're going to look at it against the big three, and I think it is going to look a little better. So, we'll just use this. We're not going to use too many indicators today, I don't think, but, you do want that 200 to break that 200. It's up there. But, time, we could break it. Maybe we break this line first and then break the 200, and that really send us off. But I've just been optimistic about this coin forever, and has not turned out to be a good prediction. But let's look at a few other things. Let me see here. Let me see if I can see anything else. Let me change this to the 200. Just get an idea real quick. So this thing's sloping down. Of course, we also wanted to eventually kind of round out and go up as well. It'd be nicer if they were kind of in step, but it could be, we break this one, we come up, we hit it, and then we break it. So let's keep an eye on that. It's nothing I see is like super imminent, but let's keep an eye on that. So what I really would like to see show a little more of is the pairs. Let's just start with XRP. I think it's the strongest against XRP. So we have this huge kind of symmetrical triangle here. That looks like it's, almost 2 years. Going on 2 years. I think this is breaking up. We're hugging this line. Let me get rid of that one. Let me put all the moving averages. You can see where, above all the moving averages, it's gone, hit the bottom a few times, but I think this wants to break up. And I think we have a pretty clear, line about 41.5, 42. And this thing goes up against XRP. That thing is pretty coiled. So I think we're going to get some resolution soon. This all just plays into the bigger picture it's kind of giving me that hunch that Litecoin's finally going to take off. So I think we got to get above 41.5, 42. If we can get above 41.5, that's going to be the highest since February. So that's looking pretty good in my opinion. Next, we'll go to Bitcoin, I guess, since it's in here. And we have a similar kind of descending wedge that kind of is like the USD pair, which makes sense. But even a little better, I think, think it just looks, it's cleaner. More touches. I mean, look at this. It's a little, we got on the bottom, we got quite a few touches, and on the top as well. So this one looks even, better. And of course, if you're beating Bitcoin, that's the name of the game. So this one, I'm looking at something like, it'd be nice if that touched higher, but, and again, we also might have a little bit of a complex inverse head and shoulders, I think, where you get like, we have two shoulders, head, and, going into August, September, who knows, but, something like that would be nice. I mean, if you could also just call it a head and shoulders with a little bit of a, not a horizontal, but a downslope. So I think if this thing gets above this 0.0074 area, and then if the XRP is going off, if the USD pair is going off, I think everything could just line up really nicely here. The moving averages again aren't as great. Again, it looks very similar to the USD pair, just a little better in my opinion. So we'll keep an eye on that one. And then lastly, we have ETH, which I think it kind of looks is the weakest, as in it's it's sitting on the bottom of the trend line of this, which I am pretty optimistic about alt season and ETH and Litecoin and a few other coins, maybe ICP right now. But again, we have a similar, it kind of looks similar to the XRP charts, a symmetrical triangle. We are on the bottom of this one though. So it's a little, it's not as good. Where's this coming from? We have this downtrend I drew in here from February 2025. So that's a year and a half that we've broken and we've stayed above. So even though we're on the bottom of this, we're one day or candle away from this falling and it being ETH alt season, which is great. So that's why I'm really looking at Litecoin, Ethereum, and then my wild card right now is ICP, which I guess we can get into a few. But yeah, so here's the LTC. So it's just this picture that we're painting of, can it be strong against XRP, Bitcoin, and Ethereum? I would assume it'll do, if it can really beat those three and, looks good against the USD, Litecoin really could be the play. Finally, hopefully. But yeah, just kind of running this back. Let's just run this back. Here's just to kind of really see all three in a row. But we're coming towards an apex on all of these. So here's ETH, Bitcoin, extend this a little more, and XRP. So same idea on all three of them almost. The Bitcoin a little different. Looks more like the USD pair, which again, it needs some work. Like it's obviously needs some work. I don't think we need to hurry into any positions, but we could start to get in here, breaking this trend line. Let's see how long this one is. This one's going on a year. 8 months. October. 10 months. So I just think also we could just really get up there. I don't think there's too much. I mean, I think we could easily get back, almost double this price. And then once we get back up here, I've said it before, but I really think we bust out of this and we go much higher into the $400, $500 range. Hopefully. I was hoping this was going to lead us higher, but it wasn't. So we're still in this kind of pattern. Although I don't love this, it's still We get up here a third time. I have a hard time believing that it's going to contain the price and we're not going much higher. So that's what I'm seeing out of Litecoin. I know it doesn't look great on the monthly at all, but or on anything really, but just with the confluence, we have a TD sequential 9, which here it turned us around. You rarely get this on a monthly because that's a lot of. Here it turned us around too, actually. So 9 at the top. So I'm definitely, I've been partial towards Litecoin. I've been wrong for a long time, but um, with just how it's acting against the other big three, I think it's worth paying attention to. That's kind of when you want it, when nobody's talking about it, it's dead, coin, all that, but it's hung around the top 25 for um, 10 years. So it's the third coin listed on Coinbase, I think. So I'd pay attention. Here, we're just looking at weekly scale on some of these. It's Bitcoin against ETH. And here, actually, we have kind of a double bottomy type action. So, yeah, there's kind of my thoughts on Litecoin and what I'm waiting for. I mean, it'd be just great if all four of those kind of fall in line somehow. It could be a really good trade, I think. We just gotta wait. Um, let's check out ETH real quick then, since I have been saying some stuff about it. This would be interesting. I think we also have a TD sequential 9 here. Yes. If we stayed in this, that'd be interesting. I think this is a good, buy the bottom. We didn't get a capitulation, which we usually get in bear markets, whether it's FTX or COVID. There's FTX. But, Tom Lee's buying it. I like this one guy called it Michael Chad Saylor. He's the only one. He's selling Bitcoin now. I'm just, whatever. So I think ETH has a chance. Let's just check it out against Bitcoin. Here's that grind. Actually, we're kind of right at that right now here too. I know this chart's kind of funky, but we turn up and we created a higher low. This thing could turn around, in my opinion. This is weekly up. If you look at the daily, I just think, again, we have a downward channel breakup, which hasn't been that great recently for crypto. A lot of these tokens have broken out of them and really just gone up a little and then dumped back over. So, but this kind of makes sense to me. Retesting this kind of breakout here that we had last summer that had a nice run. So I'm optimistic ETH. I'm optimistic Litecoin. What else here? And then the other one is I kind of like ICP as a dark horse, high risk, high reward kind of thing. It's reminding me of Zcash a lot, actually. It's kind of descending wedge type pattern with that's $82. If we put a measure move on this thing, $75. You're looking at $80. That's a 40x. I'm not saying that's probably where we're going. I could see a 5x, a 7x pretty easily, a 10x easily, and that's kind of what Zcash did. It was kind of like unbelievable to put the measurement on it, and it hit it. So if we look at Zcash, you can kind of see a little bit of a similarity here. This one was better for sure, and it did. After it was hugging the bottom, it took some time to break out there, but you put on that move of, it's a little high, but it was like, okay, $700 move. It's like, yeah, right. And then what did it do? Went up $700 from this kind of breakout zone. Almost $700. So I see ICP as a potential. Again, if we're kind of looking at this chart here, let's take off some of this. Now it did take. So it looks like we're almost in this area with ICP, which would mean we still have quite a bit longer. But I think it has a potential here. So we'll switch over real quick. See if you can kind of see that. It looks really similar to me, but at the same time, it looks like we're quite a ways away um, from that being kind of a play. But it could go up 100% before that even happens. If we look on the daily, I also kind of like this little range we're in. So I could see, buying, starting a position or just buying a kind of a conservative position and just letting it run for a year or two above this 230, or putting on a trade above 230 with your stop loss below $2. So ICP, again, longer term, kind of interesting to keep an eye on there. But that's kind of what I'm seeing out of the cryptos that are kind of interesting to me. Quick look at the order books. Here was the Litecoin one. Which again is probably possibly my favorite. Oh, ICP, I guess. ICP USD, not much. I don't know too much about this one, to be honest with you, as it relates to the order book. But there's Litecoin, Bitcoin. Now, this chart, whenever we see red, it does tend to go down, and when we see green, it tends to go up. So I'm not seeing much here, but we'll keep an eye on that. Let's look at ETH real quick. ETH BTC, again, pretty neutral, and ETH USD, somewhat neutral. See, it went out. So, yep, there you have it. Litecoin, one day to break out and break up. And yeah, I think keeping an eye on some of these pairs could really pay off in the future. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. Peace. Let's go.